She buried her daughter, said goodbye in a hospital morgue. But 2 years later, she saw that same child, barefoot and lost, on the street. Was it a ghost, a delusion, or a dark secret buried with the casket? This story of a mother's heartbreak and unwavering love will pull at your heartstrings. He never gave up hope, and his journey to finding her daughter is a testament to the power of resilience and the unbreakable bond between a parent and child. It was an ordinary Wednesday, the kind of day where nothing extraordinary was meant to happen. I had gone to the market to buy tomatoes and onions when I saw her. A little girl sitting by the corner, her hair in knots, her dress torn, and her eyes dull. Something about her made my legs freeze. She looked up at me slowly, and my heart jumped to my throat. That face. I knew that face. It was the same one I had kissed goodbye at the hospital morgue 2 years ago. My daughter, Ife. The daughter I buried. The daughter I mourned. The daughter I was told had died. But she was right there, alive. I wanted to run to her, scream her name, hold her in my arms and never let go. But I stood still, my breath caught between the past and the present. I blinked several times, convincing myself that grief had finally pushed me over the edge. My hand trembled as I reached for my phone, but then she looked away, like she didn't know me, like I was just another stranger passing by. I knew I had to follow her, but my legs wouldn't move. I was frozen in time, stuck between what I believed and what my eyes were telling me. The world around me suddenly felt strange and cruel. Was I seeing a ghost? Or had something far more sinister taken place 2 years ago? 2 years ago, I stood beside a white hospital bed as machines beeped and nurses whispered. My daughter, Ife, had been hit by a speeding car on her way back from school. She was only 7. Her tiny body was wrapped in bandages, her face bruised, her breathing shallow. I prayed, begged, pleaded with God to let her live. But hours later, the doctor came out and simply shook his head. I remember collapsing on the cold tiles, screaming until my voice broke. They let me see her one last time. Her body was still warm. I kissed her forehead and told her I loved her. Then they took her away. The funeral was quick. I couldn't even look at the casket as they lowered it into the ground. My family said I should stay strong, that God gives and takes. But I didn't want to hear it. I felt empty, hollow. People moved on, but I didn't. I stopped going out, stopped smiling, stopped living. Every corner of our home reminded me of her. Her toys, her drawings, her laughter. Some nights, I would sit by her bed and cry till morning. Losing her was like losing my soul. So imagine what it felt like to see that same face on the street 2 years later. Alive. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying the image of her sitting there, her eyes blank and her hands stretched out for food. I barely tasted my dinner, barely heard the sounds of the evening news. All I could think of was Ife, my Ife. Could it really be her? Was I losing my mind? Or was there something no one told me? I made up my mind. I had to go back the next day. I had to find her again. Before the sun rose, I was already dressed. I headed straight to the market, to the exact spot where I saw her. But she was gone. The street was busy again. Traders shouting, buses honking, people rushing. I walked up and down the area, asking anyone I could. Did you see a small girl here yesterday? Dressed in blue, barefoot. Most people shook their heads or ignored me. One woman said she saw a child that fit the description but didn't know where she went. I spent the whole day looking for her. No sign, no trace. I went home heartbroken, but something had awakened in me. A fire. I wasn't going to give up. I knew what I saw, and I would find her again. That evening, I pulled out the old brown envelope that held all of Ife's documents. Birth certificate, medical records, school report cards, and the death certificate. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. I stared at the death certificate again. Her name, her date of birth, cause of death, severe internal injuries, signed by the doctor. But something felt off now. Why wasn't I allowed to see her body for long? Why was the coffin closed at the burial? I called my sister, Auntie Ronk. She had been with me through it all. When I asked her what she remembered about that day, her voice became shaky. We were all in shock, she said. You were too broken to question anything. We just wanted to help you heal. But I wasn't healed. I had been walking around with half a heart. Then I remembered the nurse who had been particularly kind to me during those days. Her name was Nurse Eno. I decided to pay her a visit at the hospital the next day. Maybe she could help me understand what really happened that day. The hospital hadn't changed much. Same pale yellow walls, same scent of antiseptic. As I walked through the corridors, memories came flooding back. Of Ife on a stretcher, of doctors rushing, of me praying. I asked the receptionist if Nurse Eno was still working there. Yes, she's on the evening shift, the lady replied. So I waited. I sat in the waiting area with my heart pounding. When Nurse Eno finally walked out in her blue uniform, I almost cried. She recognized me immediately and hugged me tightly. "Oh, madam, how have you been holding up?" she asked with genuine concern. I didn't waste time. I told her I needed answers. I told her everything. How I saw Ife, how she looked the same. Her smile faded slowly. "Come with me," she said. We walked into a quiet corner of the hospital garden. She looked around before speaking. There was something strange that happened that day. After the doctor said Ife was gone, some people came. Men in suits. They said it was a special case. They took her body away before the official documentation was done. We were all told to keep quiet. I always thought it was odd. I felt like my heart was falling apart all over again. What men? Why would they take my child? Who were they? I pressed Nurse Eno for more details, but she genuinely didn't know much else. I was just a nurse on duty. We weren't told anything, only that the case was above us. Government matter, maybe, but it felt wrong. I went home that evening with more questions than answers. What if someone took my child that day? What if she never died? That would mean someone lied to me, someone close. The thought made me sick. I sat on the floor of my living room with tears in my eyes, thinking of all the people who stood with me during that time. The doctors, the pastor, my neighbors, even my own family. Then I remembered something. There was a name I had seen scribbled on a form back then. Dr. Ogundil. He wasn't the attending doctor, but I saw him speaking to the men in suits outside Ife's room. I pulled out Ife's hospital file again, but his name wasn't listed anywhere. Still, I remembered his face clearly. That was my next step. I had to find him, because someone was hiding something, and I was going to find out the truth. Finding Dr. Ogundil wasn't easy. He no longer worked at the hospital, and no one seemed to know where he had gone. But Lagos is a small world when you ask the right people. After days of searching, I tracked down a junior doctor who had once worked under him. He whispered the address of a private clinic in Acadia and told me to be careful. I went there the next day. The clinic looked quiet, well kept. I asked the receptionist to see Dr. Ogundil. She hesitated. "Do you have an appointment?" "Tell him it's about Ife," I said. Her eyes widened slightly. Minutes later, he appeared. He was older now, but I recognized him instantly. His face went pale when he saw me. "Madam, I didn't expect to ever see you. I didn't waste time. You were there the day my daughter died. I saw you with the men. What happened to my child?" He looked around nervously and motioned for me to come into his office. He locked the door. "You were never supposed to know, but since you saw her, it means the truth is out there." I leaned in, heart pounding. "Tell me everything." He sighed and rubbed his forehead. "That day, your daughter, she was still alive. Barely, but alive. Before we could transfer her to intensive care, 2 men came. Said they were from a child protection unit. Showed documents. Said there was a mix-up and that your child had been targeted by traffickers who were planning to abduct her. They said they were taking her to a safe facility for protection." My eyes widened. "What? And no one told me?" "We were told to keep it confidential. They said you were under watch, that telling you would endanger both your lives. We didn't know who to believe. We were scared. Everything inside me screamed. So you let them take my daughter and let me believe she was dead?" He looked away. "They promised to return her once things were clear. But after that day, I never heard anything again. I left the hospital not long after. Felt wrong. I stood up, shaking. My daughter was alive, taken, hidden, and I had to find her again. This time, nothing would stop me. Couldn't sleep that night. My body shook with a mix of anger, fear, and determination. Ife was taken from me, and everyone helped cover it up. I thought about the men in suits, the forged documents, the lies. Who were they really? And where had they taken her? I started making a list of all possible agencies involved in child protection. I visited police stations, NGOs, and even the Ministry of Women Affairs. Most people gave me blank stares. One officer hinted that such rescues do happen, but records are sealed. That only made me angrier. I went back to the market every day, just in case I saw her again. Days passed, then weeks, still nothing. But I didn't stop. A mother's heart never forgets, and mine was ready to move mountains. It was raining. I was drenched and cold, holding my umbrella tight. I was about to head home when I saw her again. Across the road, standing under a shade, still barefoot. Her dress had changed, but the eyes were the same. My Ife. This time, I didn't freeze. I ran across the road, nearly getting hit by a bike. Ife, I shouted. She turned slowly. There was a flicker in her eyes, like something deep inside recognized me. I knelt before her, crying. It's me, Mummy. It's your mummy. She stared, confused. Mummy? She whispered. I nodded, holding her tiny hands. Yes, baby, it's me. I'm here. I found you. But just then, a man appeared from the shadows. He grabbed her arm. Come, girl. Stop disturbing people. I stood up in shock. Who are you? Leave her alone. He glared at me. This is none of your business, madam. She's under our care. But I wasn't going to let go this time. Not again. Not ever. I reached out and held onto her hand tightly. The man pulled harder and Ife cried out. That sound tore through my heart like a blade. Let her go. She's my daughter, I shouted. Passers-by started to stop and look. He glanced around, clearly nervous. You have no proof, he snapped, but his grip loosened. She belongs to our home. What home? Where is it? Who gave you the right? I demanded, stepping between him and Ife. Her tiny fingers clung to mine now, and I could see fear in her eyes. I turned to the small crowd. This man is trying to take my daughter. Please help. The man hesitated, then ran off into the rain before anyone could stop him. I dropped to my knees and wrapped Ife in my arms. She was shaking. I whispered, You're safe now, baby. You're safe. Ife barely spoke that night. She sat in my living room, holding a cup of warm tea, staring into space. I wrapped her in a blanket and sat close. Do you remember me? Do you remember anything? She blinked slowly. I dream of a woman with kind eyes and a song. You used to sing it. Tears welled in my eyes. I sang it to her then, the same lullaby I used to hum when she was a baby. Her lips quivered. You smell like her, like Mummy. I held her close. Yes, Ife, I'm your mummy. They took you away, but I never stopped loving you. Never. She nodded slowly, as if the truth was finally breaking through the fog in her mind. They said you didn't want me anymore. My heart broke again. That's a lie. I wanted you every second. The next day, I took her to a clinic for a checkup. She was malnourished but otherwise healthy. While we waited, I gently asked, Where did you live before I found you? She frowned. A big house, many children. The aunties wore blue. They called it Haven House. Haven House. I had never heard of it. I searched online and found a small orphanage run by a private organization. No records, no address. Just a name and a vague description. I had to know more. I contacted a journalist friend, Muna. She was the kind who didn't stop digging until she hit the root. I told her everything. Her eyes widened. That name, it came up in another case. Missing kids. I'll help you, but be ready. This could get dark. I was ready. For Ife, I would go through fire. Muna and I traced the name Haven House through charity records and eventually found a location on the outskirts of the city. It was a gated compound with tall walls, no signage, just a faded blue gate. We parked at a distance and watched. Children came and went. None looked sad or mistreated, but everything felt off. Too quiet, too perfect. Muna took photos, noting license plates. "We need to go in," she whispered. I dressed in simple clothes and returned the next day, pretending to be someone looking to volunteer. The matron welcomed me with a forced smile. Inside, the place was spotless, the children quiet and obedient. "Do you recognize anyone?" I asked Ife as we looked around. She pointed at a woman in a blue gown. "That one. She used to lock the door at night." The woman saw us and froze. Her eyes widened. Then she rushed into an office. My pulse quickened. Something was wrong here, very wrong. Muna managed to sneak into a back office with me under the excuse of donating books. While she distracted the staff, I rifled through a drawer and found a file marked Ifealua A. My hands trembled as I opened it. There it was. Her photo. New name. False birth date. Guardian name. Sister Miriam. I snapped pictures quickly. There were other files too. Dozens. All with similar formats. Some marked with red ink, reassigned. Others had no names at all. Before I could grab more, a door slammed. A man in a security uniform entered. "You have no right to be here." Muna stepped forward, phone recording. "Actually, we do. We're investigating child trafficking. And we have proof." The man backed off slightly, unsure. I held Ife close. We walked out of Haven House that day with more than just papers. We walked out with evidence. Back at Muna's office, we reviewed the footage and documents. She contacted a trusted source in the Child Welfare Department. The moment they heard Haven House, their tone changed. "We've heard rumors, but never had proof. Until now." They launched a quiet investigation. Meanwhile, I kept Ife safe at home. Slowly, her memories began to return. Bits and pieces. The day she was taken. A man promising to help. Waking up in a new room. Being told I had abandoned her. I cried every night, wishing I had fought harder back then. But now I had a second chance. And I was gonna fight with everything I had. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the Child Welfare Office. Sister Miriam had been arrested. They wanted me to come and identify her. I walked into the small room where she sat in cuffs, head down. When she looked up, she smiled. "You should thank me," she said calmly. "She was going to die. We gave her a life." I shook with anger. "You stole my child. You lied. You broke me." She shrugged. "I was doing God's work." Ife stood beside me, silent. Then she whispered, "That's the one who hurt people." The officers nodded. That was enough. Sister Miriam would face charges. But there were others. The network was deep. And the fight wasn't over yet. The case made headlines. Mother reunites with daughter 2 years after faked death. People were shocked. Donations poured in to support other mothers searching for missing children. I spoke at events, shared our story, warned others. Ife began school again. She laughed more, smiled often, but some nights she still woke up crying. Trauma doesn't vanish overnight. One evening, she looked at me and said, "Mummy, will they ever take me again?" I hugged her tightly. "Never again, my baby. Never again." We were healing, but the scars remained. A reminder of how cruel the world can be, and how strong a mother must be to protect what is hers. Through the investigation, a name kept coming up: Pastor Kelvin Edu, a respected community leader and founder of several children's homes. Muna dug deeper and found financial records linking him to Haven House. Everything about him screamed charity, but the numbers told a different story. We attended one of his public sermons where he spoke about love, healing, and the importance of protecting children. But behind that calm voice, I saw a mask. Muna whispered, "That's him. The funding routes go through his foundation." Couldn't believe it. A man trusted by many, hiding behind God's name to run a network of lies. The authorities were watching him, building a case. I felt like the final chapter was coming, and I needed to be ready. One afternoon, Ife asked for paper and crayons. She began to draw. Her drawings showed dark rooms, tall walls, children crying, and a man in a long white robe. Pastor Kelvin. She drew the house, the van they used to move children, and even Sister Miriam with a red mark on her forehead. Each drawing was evidence, proof that couldn't be denied. The authorities used her sketches as part of their testimony. For the first time, Ife looked strong, brave, like a child reclaiming her power. That night, I tucked her into bed. She whispered, "You found me, Mummy. I was scared, but you came." I kissed her forehead. "I'll always come for you, always." One morning, I received a call. "It's happening today," Muna said. The police were going to raid all the children's homes connected to Pastor Kelvin. Haven House, Hope Mission, and another called Morning Star. We watched from afar. Vans pulled in, officers stormed the buildings, children were carried out. Some cried, some just stared blankly. The truth was finally being exposed. Pastor Kelvin was arrested. His calm demeanor faded as officers cuffed him. His last words before being taken away: "You people don't understand God's plan." Maybe we didn't, but we understood justice, and it was long overdue. The weeks that followed were full of interviews, legal proceedings, and media attention. I didn't care about fame. I just wanted Ife to heal. The government offered to support her therapy and education. She started seeing a child psychologist, and slowly her nightmares reduced. She started drawing happy things: flowers, sunshine, our home. For the first time in years, I smiled freely. We were moving forward. Together. Dr. Ogundil sent a letter. It was long, handwritten, filled with guilt. "I was a coward," he wrote. "I should have told you the truth." I read it, then folded it neatly. I wasn't sure if I forgave him, but I appreciated the truth. People came forward. Other parents, nurses, neighbors, saying they had seen strange things but didn't speak up. I told them, "It's never too late to speak. Truth saves lives." Muna helped me create a foundation in Ife's name, Ifeoluwa Hope Foundation. We supported parents of missing children, raised awareness about trafficking, and provided resources. I spoke at schools, churches, and even in government meetings. My pain became my purpose. People called me strong, but I wasn't. I was just a mother who refused to give up. Sometimes I still wonder, why was Ife taken? Was it random, or was she targeted? The case files remain open with hints of more people involved. But I choose peace. The past hurt, but the present brings healing. I may never get all the answers, but I got my daughter back, and that's more than I ever dreamed. We threw a small party for Ife's 10th birthday. Balloons, cake, laughter. Friends came. She danced like she had never known sorrow. She stood up during the party and said, "Thank you, Mummy, for finding me. You're my hero." I cried. Happy tears. The kind I thought I'd never cry again. There was still a gravestone at the cemetery. It read, Ifeoluwa Adebayo, 2014 to 2021. Beloved daughter. We visited it together. She looked at it quietly, then turned to me. That girl is gone, but I'm still here. We planted flowers by the stone, not in sadness but in honor. A grave that once held grief now symbolized rebirth. I received letters from mothers who lost children. Some never found them. Some found them broken. I wrote back, shared our story, gave them hope. Some said, "Your story gave me the strength to keep searching." That was all I ever wanted, to help someone else believe. 2 years later, Ife stood on a stage at her school's awards ceremony. She gave a short speech on bravery. She didn't talk about pain or fear. She talked about love. My mummy saved me, and now I want to help others too. I stood in the crowd holding back tears. Life had come full circle, from death to life, from loss to purpose. Thought the world had broken me again, but it had opened a door to truth, to healing, to justice. I found my daughter in the most unexpected place. Not just in that corner, but in courage, in persistence, in faith. This is our story. A story of love that refused to die. A story of a mother who wouldn't stop searching. A story that reminds us, sometimes the people we trust can hide the darkest secrets, but the light always wins in the end. If this story touched your heart in any way, don't let it end here. There are many more stories waiting, full of hope, healing, and the quiet strength we sometimes forget we carry. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe. It helps us keep telling stories that remind us of what really matters. Until next time, stay blessed, stay kind, and never stop believing in redemption.